Welcome to Crossfire. I'm Van Jones on the left.
I'm SC Cupp on the right. It's day one of the government shutdown, and the world has not ended. Tonight, House Republicans are offering a handful of bills aimed at funding portions of the government, including military veterans. And once again, President Obama and congressional Democrats are refusing to deal. Only time will tell who will suffer adverse political consequences here, but Republicans who vowed to do everything they could to stop or slow Obamacare have been true to their word. And since when is keeping a promise grandstanding? As Speaker John Boehner says, it's just an issue of fairness.
The bill we passed on the House last night would have funded the government through December the 15th and provide fairness to the American people under Obamacare. No exemptions, no exceptions. Let's treat everyone the same.
No good?
Well, funny you should mention the word fairness. You know what's fair? Fair would be letting everybody in Congress vote, in the House of Representatives, vote their conscience on this bill. Something called majority rule. That would be fair. Unfortunately, we've not had that, and that's why we have a shutdown. But in the crossfire tonight, we got some people who help us think this through. Democratic Senator Debbie Stabenow of Michigan. She's here. She supports Obamacare. We also have Republican Senator Coburn of Oklahoma. He's a doctor in real life. He's against Obamacare. Welcome to both of you. We're going to start with you. Now, you have been one of the voices of sanity, and from my point of view in this whole process, saying we should not shut down the government. There's smarter, better ways to deal with Obamacare. We are now in this ditch. The car is upside down, the wheels are spinning. How are we going to get out of this now, from your point of view?
Well, I think anytime you have a conflict like this, what you have to have is, first thing is communication. You have to have a vision on how you get there. You have to create a way for everybody to save face so they can walk away, partly injured, but still walk away. And you have to have some common sense. And, this will play out. I was here in 95 and 96. I had a 4-year hiatus where I went back to my practice. But it's the same type of thing. It is, leadership, Van. Leadership doesn't allow this to happen, whether it's Republican leadership, presidential leadership, or the Democratic Senate leadership. Now, we have allowed this to happen through failed leadership, not recognizing, not seeing the signs of polarization and trying to interrupt them. And we haven't seen that. And Republicans are as guilty as Democrats. And I put a little bit on the president. He knew that this was coming. Is it advantageous politically? Maybe. But the thing would be, I would think, is if you see this coming, try to stop it, to go and have the talks. And none of those talks have happened yet. They haven't happened between John Boehner and Harry Reid, and they haven't happened between the president and John Boehner and Harry Reid.
Well, as we go forward, I would love to get some of your wisdom, and you were here before. It seems like you were wise enough coming out of the last situation to know to try to avoid this, but I'll let us see.
Well, and Senator Stabenow, same question. What is your plan for the road forward? We can't live in this ditch for the rest of the year or the rest of our lives.
No question. And first, let's say what we're really talking about. We're talking about whether or not we will agree on funding the government for 6 weeks. Government services, from food safety to helping veterans to the CIA, FBI. What is on the floor right now is whether or not to continue funding for 6 weeks while we do what Tom's talking about, which is a larger effort to sit down. I agree that we need common sense. What we have right now is a situation, though, where we came together and said, it's only 6 weeks of funding, so we're going to compromise and agree with the funding level that the Republicans want, not $1 more than what they're asking for 6 weeks, so we can get to the bigger question of the budget, the deficit, and so on. But that, unfortunately, wasn't good enough. Instead, what we have are a minority of the minority of the minority in the House, which has said, no, we want to add to that the repeal of affordable health insurance for up to 30 million people. Now, it's interesting. Last fall, people voted at the ballot box that Today they voted in front of their computer with their mouse by having 5 times more people go to healthcare.gov to try to get affordable insurance than any day of Medicare.gov. So the majority of folks are saying we want healthcare.
They also voted for a Republican House, let me remind you. But Senator Coburn, I want to press you on what you've described as kind of a political risk in shutting down the government. I'm not really sure why the shutdown is such a gamble for Republicans. Are you really convinced that in November of 2014, voters are going to remember that one time they weren't allowed to visit the national park? Or are they going to be thinking about and reeling from the effects of Obamacare that's been implemented for a year now? And is that going to be the thing that drives them to the polls, like it did in 2010, to vote for Republicans who oppose Obamacare?
Well, maybe. But the thing is you have a microphone of a president that is hundreds of thousands times more powerful than all the Republicans if they were speaking in unity.
But do you really think that Obama in November of 2014 is going to be saying, vote for Democrats because the Republicans shut down the government a year ago?
No, I don't. But I think at the same time is we're all here to govern and to make the best decisions, not for the short-term political career, but for the long term of the country. And that's why I'm critical of my side and the other side and the president. Look, why would this degenerate to this level? And the only reason it has is because people have not displayed the leadership characteristics of a free country.
Well, and I also would have to say, Tom, that it's gotten to this point because, unfortunately, and I appreciate the position you have taken on this, and frankly, the majority of Republicans in the Senate, but we do have a group of folks in the House that ran in 2010 saying, elect me, I'll shut the government down, yay, 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 from the Tea Party, and in fact, they are happy today because they finally did it.
But you just said it, Senator, they were elected to oppose Obamacare.
The minority.
That's what they're doing.
Actually, Debbie, that's not right. It's not the minority of minority.
Let me just say, though, what people are going to talk about in 2014. I'll tell you what they're going to talk about in Michigan, and that is a family of 4 earning $50,000 a year in Michigan is going to be able to get a basic comprehensive health care insurance plan for $80 a month, including maternity care, including emergency care, including lower prescription drug costs, including mental health care. So that's what they're going to be talking about.
And what's the deductible on that, Debbie?
Well, we're looking at...
It's going to be about $4,500. So if they ever get sick, what they're going to have is a promise of insurance, but not real insurance.
Well,
let me make a point about what you... Let me make the point about you said a minority of a minority. Last night, every one of the votes were over 218 votes. That's not a minority vote. You take a position with your vote. So your claim that this is a minority. The fact is the vast majority of Americans think this is a pretty risky experiment, what's called the Affordable Care Act. And I call it the Affordable Care Act to emphasize that it's not going to be affordable. It's actually going to cost you, if you look at it, all the comparisons made in the press so far are the price of the policy versus what they thought it was going to be, not what you could have gotten before Obamacare.
Well, but let me just
the real out-of-pocket costs are going to be far greater for the average American under the Affordable Care Act if you don't count subsidy and if you count subsidy.
What do you say?
Okay, well, let's first of all, let's look at the fact that Oklahoma, which is one of the low-cost policies opening up today, that family of 4 at $50,000, $63 a month, they're going to be able to get basic care as opposed to what they would get without this new reform of about $630 a month. And what we have to look at...
But there's no difference on when you count the deductible. Let's look at what was happening before. Let's look. A lot of folks were getting something, several $100s a month, that basically left them in a situation where if they got sick, the insurance company could kick them off their insurance, and did. Or maybe they have a $5,000 cap, so if they really get sick, they still go bankrupt, they still lose the house because there's no coverage. The difference now is we're talking about comprehensive basic coverage. 8 million women starting in January will have the chance for the first time to buy basic maternity care, healthy babies, healthy moms. This is a good thing.
Look, we're talking about the policy and the substance. We're going to continue to do that. But I do want to just take one step back to the politics of this. You said something just a moment ago that was kind of shocking to me. You point out that before you had maybe passed a budget that had a bunch of good stuff in it, and then this continuing resolution comes across your desk that is lower than that. And you surrendered without a fight to go with the Republican continuing resolution that devastates all these programs that you love. Ted Cruz is fighting for what he believes in, and I think he's actually making headway. Why are Democrats willing to, isn't it bad politics for you to give away programs that you care about and get no concessions from Republicans on it, and now be stuck with both supporting a bad budget and trying to defend Obamacare?
First of all, let me say that we originally were talking about a 6-week continuing resolution while we worked out the larger effort to eliminate the sequester, which is costing about 750,000 middle-class jobs this year, so that we could restore cancer research.
I like that. You were fighting for that.
But we were willing,
Why?
in the effort of compromise, because we didn't want to see the government shut down. Do you realize that as of today...
But now it's shut down,
and you give up your principles. Well, we didn't give up our principles. This is called governing in the United States of America, where, believe it or not, you don't always get everything that you want at the moment that you want it. So we were willing to say, we will give you 6 weeks of continued funding at a level that we believe does not support education, innovation, growth in the economy, in order to get a broader agreement that will move us forward. And instead, what we're hearing is that's not enough unless you potentially eliminate health insurance for 30 million people.
Dan wants a Democratic Ted Cruz.
Well, I feel like we're telling us now that we didn't compromise.
I know,
you compromised and you got no credit. You compromised and got no credit.
I know, that happens all the time. We're the ones trying to govern, but you know what? It's because we actually really do care in a democracy, United States of America, about governing.
So her statement would say we don't care. That isn't true. The fact is the sequester's never going to go away. What it's going to do is slowly increase the discretionary spending. You know, if you actually study all these things, which I have for 9 years, what you know is in our discretionary budget today, $250 million of it is duplication, waste, or fraud. Okay, that's not my numbers. That's GAO.
Well, look, we're going to come back and talk about those numbers and more. But when we get back, Republicans have been pretty giddy today about the fact that there have been some glitches on the website. You know, you have a startup and the websites are glitchy. Everybody's excited. Oh, look, that's bad. I think it makes my point. I'm going to ask you, Senator Coburn, when we get back, explain to me, if Obamacare is so terrible and unpopular, why are so many people trying to sign up that they're crashing the system?